we're just gonna let her rip here and
I
get
was
her
hot for a second. I just the end of the day was just like one of these, and it just continues.
Yep. Well, the whole 2 weeks have just been a kick in the balls to both of us.
Cole and I have been straight up bent over and pegged for the last 2 weeks without any courtesy spits, nothing. In the politest way, but that is the best way to explain it. So, cheers to that, Cole.
That's the best way to put it.
Welcome to the Dirtbags Podcast. I am your host, Luke Payne, with my co-host, Luke Egerbrotten.
Cheers,
What's
Luke.
today, Luke.
That was the best intro I think I've ever heard. So,
Really?
I mean, very fitting to just dive into it. And I think we're going to keep that in.
I like that one. So,
Luke, why don't you introduce our guest? I mean, I'm stoked about this one. Obviously, like us three have been talking now for about an hour before starting this podcast. So
you and Cole were talking. I was off air
true.
yelling at my phone.
Yeah. So you got that settled, right?
We're settled. We're good to go. Don't stay at the Radisson in Bismarck, North Dakota. But
There you go.
other than that, we're settled.
Other than that, so Luke, today we haven't dove into this yet, and I don't know how we haven't, but I think I'm really excited. You know, a lot of people talk about the bad things about partnerships, and there's some good things to it. So I think today we're just going to dive into it, but we've got the man, the myth. We've got Cole Anderson, Anderson Yardworks, Western Excavation. I'm sure there's 4 other businesses in there, but Cole, how's it going, man?
Pretty good.
Welcome, brother. I'd ask you what you're drinking, but I know Cole's doing a 75 hard, so that's off to you.
Get my
we can we can still ask him. Cole, what are you drinking tonight?
I've got my Wakia Hawaiian volcanic water.
Nice. Sounds delicate. Sounds delicious.
Oh, yeah, that's
Luke, what are you drinking?
I am doing a straight up Knob Creek tonight with some ice.
There you go. Yeah,
Need a little burn.
Got the last of the Maker's Mark just on ice, and
show that back, Luke. Show that back, just for the YouTube users. That is a hefty last. So if you're planning on finishing that today, we'll for
see.
you.
I might have to have Cole do the outro if I finish this.
There you go. There you go. But well, no, Luke, again, super excited about this one. Like you said, I don't know why we haven't done this earlier, but it's almost like now is kind of the perfect time because Cole and I have seen so much growth, and we've really kind of been put to the test.
Let's back up a little bit there, Luke. So obviously, you know, you and Cole, for people that don't know, are business partners now.
Yes.
In Western Excavation. So that would have been, was that a year ago? Year and a half?
A little over a year. I think it was like May.
Like March.
March or April, not May, that we formed the LLC. Yeah.
Yeah. And Cole, you know, obviously has been an entrepreneur for a long time, started Anderson Yardworks. Was it in 2018 or when you were 18?
It was in 2018, but like before that, so I started Anderson Yardworks, push mowing and knocking on doors before that. And then, you know, started growing and figured I needed to get an LLC, and that's when it was formatted.
Yeah. And then I think the story of you guys starting Western is fascinating because I think it's just built on opportunity. So, you know, Cole, you're in Bismarck, North Dakota, and Luke, you're in Fargo, North Dakota. So like, Luke, you came up with the idea, didn't you? And then you approached Cole, or was it the other way around?
No, to be honest, it was one of Cole's guys, Shay, that was like, hey, I want to get into the dirt. And that's when Cole reached out and was like, hey, do you want to start one out here with me? And I was like, yeah, man, fuck yeah.
Why not?
Why not? And somebody asked me this question, Cole, but like, they're like, oh, like you and Cole must have known each other for a long time. And we had met, I think, once or twice.
Once.
Yes, it was once. And it was at a VFW in West Fargo. And we were with like a group of people. So you and I we talked like a little bit, but it was like in a group setting, and we were just talking business basically. And like 3 years later is when that got brought up, and we're like, let's start a business.
Let's go. Yeah.
And
that's it. It was Shay. So Shay was my right-hand man at Anderson. He helped me build to what it is today. And then he was kind of bugging that he wanted to get in the dirt world. And we had some opportunities here with builders and stuff. And it was something that I wanted to get into, but I had no idea where to even start. And then I talked with Andy a little bit, and which is Luke's right-hand man. And then I just called Luke up, and here we are.
Here we are. And it's funny, we were going to start like as a residential. We were only going to do residential. And I don't think we've done a single residential thing for Western yet.
Nope.
We bid a couple projects, and I remember we didn't get them, and we're like, fuck. Yeah, we didn't own anything, but we were bidding them, and we're like, we'll make it work. And our numbers were not what they should have been, or I think people were just like, you guys are way too new. We're not gonna do this.
Yeah, they didn't want to take the risk.
Yeah. And yeah,
So,
that's kind of the skivvy of it.
So, I mean, because I think, and I believe you too, and like some people think it's like this crazy legal process that you have to go through, but like what did you guys do from that sense of like paperwork, or did you just say like, let's go 50-50, we'll get the paperwork done? Luke, I know you've got a good lawyer, and then did you just kind of go from there, or was there any agreement of like, who's putting more money in or anything like that?
We like talked about it, but it wasn't a point of contention between us. I think we were both just like, let's get it off the ground, let's get it going. How we formed it, we were gonna name it after like our daughters somehow.
Yep.
And we were coming up with names, and both of us are kind of like, we love our daughters, but there's not really anything clicking there. No. And then I remember I saw like a logo, and I was like, dude, what do you think about this? And then that's how I think Western Excavation came about, and we're like, we're sold. And I think the next day we filed for the LLC with Ashley here in Fargo, our attorney, or one of our attorneys, and we were off and running.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I'm sure you guys, looking back now, it's a good idea, but I mean, Western Excavation, this isn't Bismarck Excavation. So I think that just opens up so many opportunities, which I'm sure we can dive into in a little bit here, that are coming up. And it's like, it doesn't keep you into one place, especially with, you're not doing residential, you're doing commercial. So you can only do so much commercial work in one city, usually, with competition and everything. And for the goals you guys have, it's interesting now where it's like, where do you think your home base is going to be in 5 years?
We won't have one.
Yeah.
I think both Cole and I would, and we'll dive into this a little bit later too, but I think both Cole and I are very goal oriented, to where we complement each other so well, to where it's not like we're going to limit ourselves to one area. If there's opportunity and we have the availability to try it, we're going to try it.
Yep, we're going to execute. That's exactly it.
But Cole is a bit more calculated, I'd say.
Cole is more calculated. And I tell people that all the time. I said, I am more of a personality. I am more of like drum up business. I'm a sales guy. Everybody knows I used to sell boats, right? Yep. And Cole is calculated to a T, of like run the numbers, state the facts, that type of thing. So I think that meshes well, and just understanding, and Cole, correct me if I'm wrong, but understanding each other and the goals that we have is what really makes it work.
No, that's 100% it. And yeah, I would say you are, like, if you want to say that, the salesman, and I am more analytical, and that's just really our personality, but it complements well. And you need that in business. And really it's look at what it's brought us to today.
Yeah, no, it really has. And I kind of laugh at that, because people ask me all the time, they're like, so like, who's like the brains of the operation? And I'm always like, Cole. Cole is the brains of the operation, man. Like, I learn a shit ton from Cole every day. I'm here talking shop, making sure the guys are good, making deals with bankers, calling up homeowners.
But we need that too. And I say the same thing, is Luke's got the brains, he's got the connections. So it goes back and forth.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, how, you guys have you too, but then you've brought in all these other pieces. Like, we just had the Dirtbags University with Trevor, and like, he feels like, a big, huge piece of the company, because his specialty is totally different from yours, Cole, or yours, Luke. So it's interesting how you start with the two in the partnership, but then you kind of build it out from there, because, Cole, you can't be doing everything, but as far as like the brains of it, and Luke, you can't be doing everything as far as like the selling and the executing.
No. And Cole, this is your show, so I'll let you take the reins on this. But when like Cole and I were first starting, I remember like him and I would be on the phone from like 8:30 at night till almost 1 a.m. We'd be working on bids. We'd be talking strategy, basically going over a bunch of things through the company. And that's, people don't see that, but that is how Cole and I really got to know each other through that as well.
Yeah. And it goes back to like, it's the zero, like we have the same mentality of the zero fail. We're going to execute, and we're going to find a way to make this work.
Mm-hmm. And we have, we're going to continue to do that. So, but yeah, Luke, I think this should be a podcast to where like you almost interview us both.
Yeah,
right?
no,
I feel like I can't ask Cole the questions because I already know the answers to.
Yeah, and that's exactly it.
I actually really enjoy that because I've got so much. And Luke, I love how earlier I said it and then you said it a couple times. Like, we'll talk about that later. I'm like, we're gonna be here for a couple hours, so everyone buckle up.
It could be a little bit longer of one.
Yeah, and I'm totally cool with that. So a couple of things too that just popped into my head. You guys are talking about like, there's zero fail. Like, we're gonna make it happen. Cole and I were talking about this, Luke, while you're on the phone. I am the oldest one out of us three, like out of this group. And I think that's really cool because, I'm only 28 and it's just interesting, like what happens when we're 35, and like, if you keep that trajectory going, like where are we trying to go? Or do you just become better at what you do? So I guess my question to you guys, maybe more on the Western side, is like, you've done so much in just a little over a year. Like, how do you build out, or do you even have like a 5-year plan? Or is it just like, let's do the right things now and keep building up, and like more of like a 6-month plan? Like, how do you guys forecast the future?
Cole, I'll let you answer and then I'll chime in after that. Cause I think we probably got 2 different answers.
And like we have, I would say we have our long-term vision. We know where we want to go. No one really knows the exact process on how we're going to get there because we're going to figure it out. But I would say like kind of how I've looked at it is, we're looking at, I'll look at it as like per project, but then also like really the season and kind of where we're at. But it's always we're going to continue what we're doing. And then how do we continue to grow, become better, and really grow the company and fulfill the need that's in this region.
Yeah.
Really.
I agree. In my opinion, I think I don't necessarily have a 5-year plan, right? Because I could have made a 5-year plan last year. And to be honest, we've already probably would have surpassed that 5-year plan coming into this year.
Yeah.
So the way I'm kind of attacking things is Cole and I are very dedicated right now to finding the right people for the places that we need filled, right? Trevor was a huge part in that because Cole and I no longer have to be on the phone for 6 hours at night trying to do bids. Trevor can do that through the day. The team members that we've taken on, they're creating more and more opportunities for us to kind of spread our, reach a little bit within different parts of the excavation field, 24-hour, 24/7 emergency services, water sewer tie-ins in both Bismarck and Fargo now, phenomenal operators. So I don't look at it as like a 5-year thing. Like Cole said, I'm looking at it as like a yearly thing. Okay, I'm going to take this year, see what we can achieve, and then come maybe this time next year, sit back, recalculate, and look, okay, we can triple what we did from the year prior.
And there's like if I would, let's say 2 years ago, if I would go and try and create a 5-year plan, it's not even close to like where we're at now. I never thought 2 years ago that I was going to be in the dirt world. Never thought that. So like you can't, for us, like, there is really no 5-year plan. It's see how the season is and really just do better and become better and continue growing.
Yeah. Continue to learn on the projects.
Yeah. And then off of that too, Cole, you and I are talking a little bit about this as well. I love that too, how you're kind of going, not even year by year, like the year is more of like your longest metric that you're measuring. You guys are almost day by day, week by week, month by month. How do you determine like the health of your business, like the health of you guys yourselves? And just like, do you just take a try and zoom out a little bit and see like, okay, are we profitable for this quarter? Are we bringing on more? Like, our receivables coming in? Like, how do you guys take a look at the health of your business when you are growing so fast and trying to do so much?
I'd say like right now for us, the best way is per project. We bid per project and we execute per project. That's the best way to kind of plan, budget, and track where we're at, is really just per project.
Yeah.
Because again, like coming into the fall and winter, there's no projects. How do you you can't look at, let's say we can't look at the month of December and say, man, we're doing terrible because we have no receivables or we have no work going on. Well, yeah, because it's snowing out and we're not executing and we're not doing our projects. By then, hopefully we have everything wrapped up, but you can't look at it monthly and even like for us quarterly, because how excavating is, that front beginning is we're pushing hard and there's really no receivables coming in initially. So if you look at that, yeah, then you
get paid when you start.
Yep. So it's I would say per project is the best way that we can kind of track and see where we're at.
I think it's overall morale. You know, I look at the health of the business as overall morale of guys that make your business, right? Cole and I know the magnitude of projects that we have behind us, and we're very confident in our estimating process, right? So I know the money's there, right? So money to me doesn't scare me. Do the receivables suck? 100%. When we start end of April and you're not seeing any checks until July, yeah, that kicks you in the shorts as well. But again, we know it's there. To me, knowing that guys are happy, guys enjoy where they're at, and they're productive, I think that is going to be 90% of the health of your business. You know, the 10% is Cole and I. That's him and I to figure out. That's, you know, where the finances come in. That's where payroll comes in. That's where, you know, all of the back end stuff that him and I get to deal with. So majority comes from that morale.
Do you think a lot of construction companies or companies in general have that reversed, and that's why they're seeing issues hiring and retaining employees?
I would say, yeah, more established companies can probably look at their profits a little bit more, right? Because I'm sure they're an older generation. I would say Cole and I are both very, and Cole, if I'm speaking for you wrong, tell me to fuck off. But I would say we are both very money motivated, but that isn't our number one motivator. I think my motivator is here to stomp on throats. I am here to make some waves. I want to show our presence that we're here to play, right? I know the money will come after that.
Yeah. And really, the big thing is money is there. It's just timing.
Yeah. Luke, I'm glad you said that. Obviously we've talked about that before and haven't talked about it with Cole, but a lot of people are afraid to say that, like that they're motivated by money. And I think I don't know why it's such a taboo topic, because you look at what money can do, and that's different for anybody listening. Obviously it can be used for things that you shouldn't be doing, but a lot of times, like for me, it's my time. If I have money, I have more of my time where I can do whatever I want. So I think it's interesting that you guys are, you know, both motivated by money, but aren't afraid to like say that. It's like, yeah, of course we're trying to make money, or of course we're trying to make a profit down the road. At the same time, adding value and like completing these projects, making people happy. But it's tough. It's tough to balance the two.
It is. And money is associated with greed, right? That's how the media plays it. That's how it's always shown from, you know, you're rich and poor, fuck the rich people, they should give to the poor people, you know, so it's played off as greedy, right? But if it's used to better, if it's used to help, you know, create something, I don't think there's any problem saying that, right? I don't think there's any problem saying that from the get-go, because all of our guys, Cole can attest to this, all of them are motivated by money. All of them want to make a shit ton of money, right? So they're all wanting their overtime. They all want, what else can I, you know, what is my bonus going to be? What is this going to be? So they all are motivated by money. So why is it the business owner, when they're motivated by money, why is that bad? I don't agree with that, because the more money the company makes, the more money everybody makes, is how I see it.
Yeah, there's an interesting, a great feeling when everyone is succeeding, especially in your own business, and everyone's making a bag, everyone's going home happy. And it's like, that was fun. Like, let's keep doing this. Let's keep this thing, like you said, Luke earlier, like the morale, like let's keep this thing going on a rocket ship. And, with us, we talked about it a couple podcasts ago. It's like, I'm willing to pay, especially like based on performance. Like if they're making us that much more money, like why not just keep it going? And that's the exciting thing. It's just like it boosts morale. It's exciting. Like there's that long-term vision, but a lot of it has to do with money. So do you guys see, I know it's a little early, but I really wanted to ask this question. Obviously you guys started the business together. It's pretty easy, I think, when you start a business together, let's go 50-50, let's do this thing. How does it look down the road if there was, and there probably, maybe there isn't, like bringing in like a third partner? Like, is that ever something you guys think about, consider, or is that something that's just like in 5 years, if that opportunity presents itself, we'll talk about it then?
I don't know how we're going to approach that, right? I think both Cole and I want to incentivize the best we can. Taking on a third partner might be tough, to where that's where we might have to entertain the phantom equity, right? Or as like a shareholder with issued stock type thing. But as far as like giving away value of the business, I think both Cole and I have talked about, like, if somebody were to approach us and say they wanted to buy us out, we wouldn't sell.
Yeah.
Because we see the opportunity. So I think that's a tough question as far as right now, because both of us, I think, are in agreement to, we've got a huge opportunity and we're going to keep charging type thing.
Exactly.
Yep. No, that's exactly it. Is like, and it's really never even crossed my mind, because it's we're building this and we are going to kick ass.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
And the cool thing about that, Cole, is that you can pay people to help you out. You can pay a CFO a really good salary, or even, I was listening to a podcast and they essentially, their ownership group, they don't give ownership stake in the company, but they pay them off like the profits. They do profit sharing. Luke, you were saying was it phantom equity? Was it
phantom equity? Yep.
Do you mind talking about that a little bit more? I don't know much about it, so I think that was interesting.
So phantom equity is something that I've kind of researched a lot, because I do think as you grow, right, I think there's a good incentive there to keep very well trained, very good operators, very good people in your corner, right? Giving up your business, giving a part of your business is very tough, from what I've talked to attorneys with, from what I've talked to different, business people with. But the phantom equity, that is very easy, right? Basically, you have to issue a share, right? And then you divvy out these shares to, we'll call them your stakeholders, right? Yeah. There's a whole, operating agreement, principles of operation, that type of thing that has to be typed up with those shares and articles of incorporation, all of that good stuff. But there is no ownership, if that makes sense, right? That becomes a paid on profits type thing. Right. Okay. You guys are key players in this company. Okay. If we succeed, your percentage of share is going to get paid out based on total profits. So that should be an incentive in itself, is how it kind of works.
So you guys stay the decision makers, essentially, where you're still making the decisions to move the company forward, and they're putting their trust in you that their equity is just going to keep rising, their phantom equity, where they're just going to keep getting paid more because of the leadership team. But when it comes to making decisions, it would be on you guys.
Oh, yep.
No, that's exactly it.
I don't think, if there's somebody that continues to bust ass and shows that they want to be there and show that they're for the company, and, they do that for years on end, I don't think that's out of the question to give them part of the ownership. Yeah. Right. And again, that's a conversation based, 10, 15, 20 years down the road type thing. But there are different incentives that you can offer, to your employees based off that. But
yeah. And I think I'll kind of jump in there too, because if somebody's an employee listening, it's a good avenue to be more creative. Like, you don't always have to just think like, I'm going to ask for equity, I want to be a partner. It's like, why not do something based on production, or like based on profits? And you may not always get that either. That's if you're well trusted and, acting like a partner. But a lot of times, like, you don't want equity, like actual equity, because there's so much risk. There's like capital you have to put in. And a lot of times, like, there's benefits to profit sharing as an employee. And so kind of getting more creative. I know when I had my first job, from 2018 to 2021, we did more of that. Like I wasn't going to take ownership in the practice I was working for, but I wanted to be paid off production that I was bringing in. So we got very creative with those offers. And I think as an employee, you can kind of present that forward instead of like wanting to like be a partner. Cause as you guys know, like it's not all sunshine and rainbows, like owning equity in your own business.
Oh yeah. Yep. And really like we have, in a sense, we already kind of have that set up. We have our budget for bonuses at the end of the year. And if we do better, heck yeah, bonuses are going to go up. If we don't, and we've got a legit spreadsheet of fuck ups that are guys that, if there's been intentional or carelessness, screw ups that really hit us hard financially, that's going to be addressed. We're going to, in a sense, we're putting the kind of the feet to the coals to the guys and keeping guys accountable, and which does that phantom equity. But doing that now, I think is starting that and incentivizing these guys to, let's think outside the box here a little bit. Let's take some ownership. Let's take some pride in our work. It's not just punch the clock, do what's required, maybe a little bit above, and punch out and do the same thing, and just kind of the monotony of the days, the weeks, the months. Let's think outside the box. We have investment in this company, so let's execute well and let's reap the benefits.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Luke, I'm going to touch on your point there, because I think that brings us into a really good topic. As far as the equity standpoint, right, there are a lot of risks associated with that. Cole always says to people, we'll never put you in a position to fail, right? We will always put you in positions to succeed, to where that, like, if you were to offer equity to somebody, right, they are now responsible for, say, 10% of the company,
Right.
We're going to go deep here, Cole. So I'm going to release some trade secrets here, but that is not always a good thing, right? Cole and I, like he was saying earlier in the year, or earlier in the podcast, earlier in our year, right, we had no receivables coming in, right? Because we just got off winter, we were bidding projects, we're starting projects, we're waiting for our pay apps to basically get approved and then submitted, right? So there was 2 months that Cole and I floated Western. And, it was like every week, all right, Cole, what are we putting in? We each got to put 10, 15 grand in. And that's what we did, because we knew the money was there, right? We weren't worried about it, but it's because it's such a new company and we were taking off. We took a huge bite with the risk that we have taken, and we put a lot in, and that's where you say we have that investment in it, right? But a lot of people don't see that. People see equity as like, oh, this is guaranteed profit. This is guaranteed money. No, when we, that sucks. When we got to make those calls and we're like, hey, we gotta put another 15 grand each in, or the bank account might go to zero or something, whatever it might be. Thankfully, it never happened. But, there were times where Cole and I had to float it, and that's just business itself. So getting really deep on that one. And some people might not think that, but that is what business is, right? Like our payroll per month is close to 100 grand per month right now. It's business is a huge thing. And when you get into that topic of people wanting equity, they got to understand the risks involved with that. Because guess what? That's a cash call. If you're an owner in that business and something isn't going right, or you do need to float it in order to, continue on to the next month, to where, say, you have 800 grand in receivables come in, right? Then you're fine. But that 1 month you're not, you're going to have to float it.
Yeah. And one thing to look out for too, kind of going a little bit deeper on that point, Luke, is, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you've done it before. Myself, I've been offered free equity many times in businesses and startups. And at first you may think like, oh, this is awesome. I get a free 30% in this business. That is not always a good thing. And I turn down almost every time I turn that down, because they just want to bring me in to market the business, to invest money into it, to, take 30% of the risk. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't such a great deal. And then it's all my time and my team's time. And so I think you do have to be careful. Like, about taking free equity from a business. And also, like you mentioned, Luke, as an employee, getting 10% isn't all
It's not
great.
all sunshine and rainbows, right?
No, because
It's
you are
not.
on the hook now, like you said, for 10% of the business, which if the bank account's at zero, you need to float 100K total. That's 10 grand coming out of your pocket, wherever it's coming from. It doesn't matter. You own 10% of the business.
Gotta
And if
come
you
up
don't,
with it.
and if you don't have majority share either, and like to make those decisions, it's even tougher.
Correct.
So it's fascinating though. I mean, diving into that, like just there are great things with partnerships and owning equity in companies, but you have to pick the right companies.
Mm-hmm. Well, you pick the right partnerships.
I was just gonna go back on that. I was gonna say pick the right people to be working with. Yeah.
And a lot of people, and a lot of people are, you could say employees, they never see that, because like Luke and I, we have the conversations. Hey, this is again, zero fail mentality. We're going to figure it out, and we execute. We don't go flaunting it or going to the guys and telling them about it even or anything. That's just part of owning a business. That's just what it is. And we know that, but not a lot of people do know that.
No. And as a business owner, you shouldn't flaunt that, right? It is your business. You're responsible for that business. But there is that side. And again, I'm not trying to flaunt that whatsoever. That's just a great example of that is the dark side of business ownership, right? There isn't always good. And people think, oh, you own a business, you must fucking make a shit ton of money, right? Not always the case. The business might be making money, right? Yeah. But we're paying ourselves very minimal, if anything, right? We've got so much put into it. We're waiting for the business to cash flow, or whatever the case may be.
And it goes back to us. We've got the long-term vision. We know where we're going to go. We know where we want to go. And that's what we see. So this stuff right now, in a sense, is just temporary pain, and it's growing. Yeah. We're fine with it. We know where we're going to go, and we're just going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. On that point, do you think, I don't want to actually, do you think you thrive more dealing paying yourself less, I guess, like going through this rather than paying yourself, like taking more out of the business and paying yourself more? Like, do you think you're going to thrive more in this period of your life in business rather than like in 10 years, maybe when you guys are raking it in?
Like, I don't know. It's a tough question to say, because like, I like the, the operations or the building of it. So yeah. Is that ever gonna change? No.
Right.
It's never, I like that. That's always going to continue. If I would, let's say, like if Luke and I were taking more money now, I would feel guilty, because we're taking away from the business, and we're taking away from the opportunity to us, but not only us, all of our guys, and really like our future guys that we're going to hire eventually as well. Yeah. We're taking that opportunity and cutting it. To us, that's not even a consideration.
Was it for both of you, was it easy to agree on like what you're going to pay yourself?
$0.
Yeah, we're still in that conversation right now, right? We're figuring out as we go mainly. Yeah. And our biggest thing, like Cole said, is the opportunity, right? Yeah. Put it all back in. Make sure the business has what it needs in order to succeed.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a different conversation too, like, which I wanted to bring up, like all three of us, we all own our own companies 100%, and we all have partnerships in other companies at 50-50, at 15, 35, whatever it is. And so I think that's very interesting, because you have other perspectives too, of like, you have other income coming in. It's like, okay, we see the opportunity with Western. Why do I need to pay myself a few $1,000 a month or 5 or 10 grand a month? It's like, keep it in. Let's keep this thing going, because this is going to be the big business, in a couple of years, and it's going to be paying everyone. And Cole, like you said too, not just our current guys, not just us, but our future guys that we're bringing in, our future equipment, our future softwares that we're bringing in.
Exactly. Yeah. It pays for the growth, is how we see it. And on the topic of discussion that you had brought up, Luke, I don't think Cole and I have ever had an argument with each other.
Yeah.
As partners, we have never argued about a decision one or the other has made. And I think that's very rare for partnerships, because I feel like, the honeymoon phase, we'll call it, the first 2 months, everything's fine and dandy. But then when push comes to shove, I think that's when people really start to hold their ground or grit their teeth and, put their feet in. And that's where they start to fight, to where Cole and I haven't had that.
And it's magnified too, because just of the construction industry, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of moving parts as well. So for I guess for like arguments or tempers to flare, it's common. It is. That's just what this industry is. But we've never had that. We are always on the same page. But it goes back to like even our morals and everything line up, which is vital. And if you don't have that, that's what everything really is based off of. So if you don't have that, then yes, you are going to have issues. And will we have some issues at some point? Oh yeah, but we know that, and we're men. We're gonna figure it out as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a stressful business. Like Luke, you got to deal with the hotel business and everything.
Cole and I are going to start building their own fucking hotels here eventually.
No shit.
God
and
damn.
Apartments.
Yeah, and apartments and fucking everything. We're just gonna own the world. I've got a question for Cole. Cole, for people, and Luke, we talked about this right before the podcast, but Luke put out on a story, and it was like, talking about partnerships, let us know your thoughts type thing. And everybody goes towards more of the negatives, right? Cole, what are three? Give me 5 positives about being in a partnership.
5 positives. So
like, we'll talk about your and I partnership here. Maybe somebody can learn from that.
I would say like one thing that we both have is we have an outlet to vent to each other, and we both understand each other. And there's times where we need to just get some shit out of our system, and we're both there like, yep, we hear you. Like I hear you, you hear me, and it just works. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. And I think that's also kind of undervalued as well, because that, again, it goes back to like the stress and stuff. We have a lot of high stress, and just business owners in general have a lot of high stress. They need to find a way to kind of release that. And sometimes it is just venting. Mm-hmm. So that's been a good one, I'd say, for us. Let's see, what's another one?
I think of support, right?
Yeah. Like
off my head, the support of, when you had your daughter last year, when you had Blair, right? It was a lot of, Luke, I got to go, take care of Blair, or Luke, I got to go pick Blair up for daycare. It's knowing where that person's at and loving them where they're at type thing, to where, do your thing, man. Do your thing. I got it here. No worries. I think that's
tell me what you need. Tell me, really tell me what you need. And that's been huge too, of like, there's times where, let's say like I was sick and I'm not able to answer emails or answer calls, but you are. And that's been commented a lot too, of GC saying, shit, if Luke doesn't answer in 5 seconds, Cole's answering in 10, or vice versa. And that's again, it goes back to that, the opportunity we have, and people notice these little things, and we're doing the little things, I guess. So that's a big one. And even the guys have said that too. They're like, man, wow, it's crazy that if one doesn't answer, the other is right there immediately. Right. So knowing that we have each other's backs as well, that's a big one.
That's huge. The venting thing, I'm gonna attest to that, because there are times like you can almost feel it when I'm in my pickup and I'm driving somewhere and Cole's calling. I'm like, all right, and you can it's almost like a weird telepathy thing. Like, we got to chat. I don't care who I'm talking to. I'm hanging up, and we're gonna work this one out. So yeah, I feel that one, because there's been multiple times just with problems with projects, GCs. We're upset about whatever the case may be. You and I always have each other's back.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Yep. What else do we got? We're at 2. I think the vision,
life in general, like seriously, like just being there to support each other. It's a huge deal that we are on the same page on damn near everything, if not everything.
Yep.
And that's probably the best way to put that.
Wanting each other to succeed.
Yeah.
And wanting the best for one another.
And we want each other to succeed. And it goes back to like, we both put everyone else in front of ourselves. and we both do that. We both put our guys in front of each other, or in front of ourselves, and I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Having someone else like acknowledge kind of I guess the work that you're putting into it, and the work that like we're both in the trenches together, and we just both understand what's going on, is just a big thing.
It's a numbers thing. When you have a partner, you have somebody to lean on. They're kind of your crutch in a downtime, or if you need the support, like we had just talked about, that is a fantastic person to have. I 100% agree with you. I'm going to plug Cole again on this one, but I think the coolest thing when we have these conversations is he's always state the facts, right? Take your emotion out of it and state the facts, right? Because there's times when I'm fired up typing an email, I probably shouldn't say some of these things in an email, but Cole's like, Luke, we'll just take a breath, state the facts, and it's helped tremendously. I feel like that's really helped with growth as well.
Yep, no, that's a big thing. I would say that does, and I can thank my dad for that, because he has really pushed that of state the facts, remove emotion. But there's also a time when you kind of need emotion, and that's where you, Luke, come into, where the GC is just chewing her ass, and someone needs to fucking lay them down and say, enough is enough. And the good cop, bad cop, and that those roles are played pretty well.
They are. There's times where like Cole and I we'll call each other and we're like, all right, do we need some good cop, bad cop here? Let's saddle up, man. And oh yeah, we've had those times.
Yep.
I'll never forget some of them. I love them.
So yeah, we could go on for hours on stories.
Oh yeah, we could.
Luke, one thing I was just thinking of too when you were talking there is supplementing each other's weaknesses. I mean, that's huge in a partnership, and especially with you two. It's like, what you're lacking, Cole, Luke's picking up, and vice versa. Cole's picking up your slack. So I feel like, when you don't have that partnership, you don't necessarily have that. And it's a little bit different when you pay somebody, to be there rather than when they're in the trenches with you, like you mentioned.
Yeah. When you're both, taking nothing from the company that you're trying to build, and you're both just like, hey, let's man up and fucking do it. I think that is the coolest part.
Yeah.
So I know we didn't get 5, but I think if we go to 5, we're probably going to just get more and more into our stories, and people probably don't want to hear them. So.
Yeah. So I've got one for Cole. Obviously you talked a lot about partnerships, and I love how we're diving into it, because this is why people are listening to this episode. It's not all fine and dandy. It's been great talking with you guys about the partnership. Haven't had any arguments. It's been awesome. Believe it or not, I mean, there's just so many out there that just fail, and they fail miserably. So like, what do you look for in a partnership, for one, like in somebody to bring in a partnership? And also, like, how can somebody avoid like bringing on somebody that is going to screw them over, is going to kick them to the curb? Like, what do you look for, and what do you do when you get that person in?
Big thing is take the 10,000 foot view, remove emotion. And again, like it goes back to like state the facts, because there are a lot of decisions a lot of people make on emotion. And like Luke and I we can attest to this too. There's guys that are fired up, and we have to just help them just kind of calm down, but just you need to remove emotion, because there can be a lot of bad decisions based on that. You're seeing blue skies, but you're completely blind to all of the bad. That's something that I would say is just lay everything out and see what actually the company is doing, what actually their morals are, what actually the morale of the company is. But then also it goes back to numbers as well. And why are they looking to bring you on? Like, are they looking to, just like what you said earlier, bring you on to add value to them and the company, or are they truly wanting you to come in and help build something?
Great point. Because I've never thought about like you had Luke or said that, Luke, but like bringing somebody on, I don't think there was ever a time, Cole, where I was like, what does this guy want from me? Yeah. Right. I looked at it as more of an opportunity to grow something else, instead of, looking at it the opposite way and saying, okay, what is the motive here? What is this person trying to achieve by bringing me on? I just personally, I saw an opportunity and I was like, let's do it, man. I'm all for it.
Yep.
You know,
and literally an opportunity and execute,
Mhm.
execute, period. There's no questions.
Yeah. And then there's also the 4 Ds, disagreement, death, divorce, and drugs. So obviously, like in a partnership, not everything goes great. Those 4 Ds come up far too often. Do you guys have anything in place, or do you recommend having anything in place? Or is that something that, maybe is in the near future that you kind of have to consider? Like, for people listening, I mean, because not every situation is like your guys', like what can they do to kind of avoid those 4 Ds, the disagreement, the death, divorce, and the drug situations?
I think 3 of those can be encompassed by a very, very well written operating agreement.
Yep.
Cole and I have an operating agreement, but it is something that, probably in this year that him and I are both going to have to revise, right? And really kind of hammer down details with, because again, from the growth that we've seen, that is something that needs to be in place. As far as the drug aspect, I feel like you just have to be in tune with the other person, right? It goes back to the support system. It goes back to, wanting to see that person succeed, and then just being, for that person, being there, being there for that person, basically knowing if they're struggling with something, showing that support, and saying, calling a spade, taking the emotion out of it and almost bringing it back to reality. If that position, if that time were to ever come, type thing.
Yep. And like for us, let's say if that would happen, we both know each other would probably have the other one's ass beat.
100%.
And that goes back to then we know we want to grow, and it's not just us, it's our guys, it's the whole company, it's everyone. So our actions and our decisions affect not just us, but all of our guys, our families, because both of us have families. And that's that's just a big thing to consider.
Mm-hmm. Dropping your ego, putting that other person before you, like Cole says. We always put our guys in front of us. Okay, you got to take that step back and put the other owner in front of you as well. What would happen if if I made this decision out of principle or, out of emotion? What would that affect is kind of how you have to look at it when you're talking in a business sense.
So, and I want to keep going a little bit further, because I just think of a company doing $2 million a year, one owner, he's got a wife and kids, maybe. Does it would you guys recommend to bring in a partner? Or is that something that obviously it's situational, but, or is he kind of already off on his business run? Or like, what are your guys' perspectives on that, of like bringing somebody in while you've already built something up? Like, do you give them less equity and bring them in as like a CFO business partner?
I think it's very situation based.
Yeah. It is. It's really situational based. One thing that I've kind of noticed with having a partner, and really a good partner being Luke, is we're able to continue the business functions if one's gone. Like I was kicked on my ass for about a week, and everything ran smoothly.
Yeah.
Luke was on.
I was on my honeymoon.
You're on your honeymoon, and you were still doing a lot, but there's still times where you couldn't answer and whatnot, and that goes back to like I was keeping it down, but also Trevor was holding a lot down. But that goes back to we're putting the right people in the right places,
right,
and executing on that.
Don't even lie. I think I answered my phone twice on my honeymoon. So Cole and Trevor held the fort down. Like I don't
know about that. So there's more. There's been a lot more emails sent than a couple years. So,
but no, and I don't think it's something that anybody, if you have a business and it's successful and it can operate, you got to look where you're at. Like if you can find a partner that's strategic, that can help you grow the business with like-minded, just being a like-minded person in that business, to where you can find where that person kind of offset your strengths, then it might be a smart decision. But again, you really don't know. So I think you gotta put yourself where you're at and what your goals are, right? If you're happy in that, Luke, in that revenue, say of 2 million, why would you take a partner on?
Right?
That wouldn't make sense. But if you want to continue to grow, and another thing that I think really helps Cole and I is we are in two separate areas.
Yeah.
Right. He has his connections. I have my connections, and we form them together. Right. But again, he heads up Bismarck. He heads up West. I head up Fargo. I head up anything around here. But then we help each other with whatever we can for the business's sake, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I think it has to be very strategic too, because I think some people get too excited about it. Like, oh, I can bring in a partner and I won't be as stressed and I won't be as busy. And then they bring in one of their good friends from high school who they think will, has a passion for it. And then they just don't match that energy because they've been running the business for 3 years and they just brought in this partner. I think there's a lot of that too. And for anyone listening, it's like, it's not all great when you bring in a partner, especially when you're already established. It's a lot messier at that point. So I guess what I would recommend is starting them, bringing them in the business, seeing how active they are, like paying them off of the bottom line, seeing how they can grow that. And then, down the line, this isn't just like should I do this or should I not? Like you want to grow with them and then see if they want to be a piece of that business. But personally, I don't think it's going to happen right away. If you already have an established business, they've got to be, working with you and growing with you through some time as well.
Mm-hmm. Another pillar, Cole, out of the 5 that I asked you to provide, one of them is trust, right? We didn't really talk about trust, but trust is huge because when you are in a partnership, you have to trust that person with kind of everything, right? When you're dealing with banks, when you're dealing with insurance companies, when you're dealing with anything, right? There's times where, there's somebody asking, they're like, hey, I need yours and Cole's social security number. I call up Cole, Cole, give me your social number. He'll give it to me over the phone. I'll write it down, right? That is very sensitive information. And if you don't trust the person that you're a partner with to give that to them, you probably shouldn't be a partner with them, right? Same with like personal financial statements, right? Cole and I have to update those to our banks every 90 days or, 3 months, right? That is information that you as a partner, are probably going to see. You're probably going to encounter, right? Because your business is going to depend on that as well. So again, I think trust is really big, not to bring it back to that, but that is something that wasn't really talked about.
No, that is well said. And it's again, like I sit here and I'm like, yeah, it's hard to think about it because everything is just expected, I guess, or like trust it to me doesn't even cross my mind just because we have that. Mm-hmm. And it's just so standard.
Yep. There's never a question, and that's what you need to look for in a partnership.
Yeah. And Cole, I think it's interesting too, because I think, situations are all situational. Like they're so different because you look at Anderson Yardworks and like Luke being a partner in that, like just doesn't really make sense, especially at this time. And like same thing with like Phaser and even Black Iron, which is a little different, but so it's also just finding like the right partner for the right business. And it's okay to like own your own business 100% and then have another business that is that partnership. And sometimes like that's a good way to do it, so you can see what where you operate best out of. And I know all 3 of us are doing that, where we have our own stuff and then we have our partnerships too. So when I look at the businesses I'm a part of, it's like they all have their pros and cons no matter what. And almost none of them are due to the ownership structure, whether it's just me or there's me and Luke with the dirt bags, or there's 4 other people with turf wars. It's like, it's all the right ownership structure. And then there's just other problems that come from other logistics. So I think making sure you have the right people in the right business together with you.
Yep. No, that's exactly it.
And again, I'll speak on this, but I think with Cole and I with Western, right? I think it couldn't have been more perfect, right? Obviously, Luke, you and I are in a different partnership, right? You and I are in a partnership because we saw a common goal, right? It's similar to Cole and I, but as far as like how it happened, we both ran companies at the time. We both saw an opportunity in this market and we just kind of went for it. Right. Nobody came into one of the other's business, because then you run into the contention of, oh, well, I built this company from ground up and you came in when it was succeeding, so I deserve the credit type thing. There was no egos attached. There was nothing that the business held, and it was grown together. And I think that's what makes it, and again, Cole, we were not friends before this.
No.
Like we were acquaintances, but in the nicest way. Like Cole wasn't somebody that I'd call up and be like, hey, let's go grab a beer and hang out at the lake or whatever. Right. We knew each other, but it wasn't like a personal friendship either. So I think that's why it really works as well.
Yep. No, that's exactly it.
And Luke, you and I with the partnership, that works because you and I have a common goal with the dirtbags, right? We want to put information out there. We want to help people, but we also work separately, right? But it helps build the dirtbags. You and I knew each other, right? We were friends in high school. After high school, we, didn't talk much, but then we came back, and I think that's why it really works as well.
Yeah. I always tell people, or sorry, Cole, you go.
Okay. I was gonna say, and like for you guys with the dirtbags, that partnership complements really well too. You've got, there's Luke, who's in the trenches in the dirt world. And then how do you get that information out? Luke he knows how to get that information out and can deliver that super well. And with both that, it complements really well.
Yeah. One thing I'd written down earlier is staying in your lane and knowing where your value's at. Like, I know my value is not in the trenches, like literally. And so I'm like, okay, where can I add the most value? And obviously it's on the digital side of all of this. And so it's bringing that into a partnership. And if there's any advice I can give somebody that wants to be like a future entrepreneur or business owner, is like hone in on something. Like, don't just be very broad of like, yeah, I'm great at communicating or I'm great at this. It's like hone in on something, try and get as specific as you can, and then just like work on your craft. I mean, perfect that, because you're going to become so valuable in so many opportunities and businesses. And I think what really hurts people is when they're so broad and all over the board that they're not great at one thing.
No, I agree. Expand your horizons, but also master your craft.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely.
Luke, we have an idea for another podcast episode. So this is kind of we had the Western Excavation episode. This is, a while ago. Obviously we have this one, which I feel like it's very Western themed. We're talking about bringing the whole crew in, having an in-person, potentially
like a round table
pizza party, of course.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a pizza party and we're gonna record it, and we're gonna have the whole crew, because we're gonna get employees' perspectives, we're gonna get ownership perspective, and obviously like do a dirtbag style too.
I would love to do that actually, because I feel like you take our main group of guys and we get 8 seats at the table, and that could be a really good conversation.
We talked about like passing a bottle around too, but that'd probably get out of hand.
That one might have to be like a webinar style to where we can record it, but people might have to pay to see
it's
that.
Not going to stay.
So it's not out there.
Yeah. $50 to see the recording of the.
I would pay
whatever you want to call that.
I would definitely pay that. We've got some funny guys that work for us. They're hilarious.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Bunch of characters, man. But no, you got to have personalities. You got to have your own personality. Yeah. And
speaking of personalities, I'm going to cut you off with that one, because Cole, I didn't know this, but I was in the basement the other day, and Jimmy was digging, and we had nicked a water line for the stub up. So I called Austin, one of our water sewer cert guys, and I said, hey, we nicked a water line. Can you come help me fix this? I said, I don't know if it's fixable. And he goes, yeah, I'll be right out. And fuck, I'm just thinking of the story. What was I talking about again? Bring me back. I'm laughing internally.
Water line,
nicked it.
No, before that, what did I cut you off on? Personalities. Yes. Okay. Where the fuck was I going with that? Because it was a really funny story.
This is the worst, because I don't even.
Oh no, it's about the is it about the Snapchat group?
No, because I was after that. What the hell was it? God, it'll come to me.
Dude, this is bad, because I don't even remember really bad,
but it was so funny. But I'll have to think about it. Luke, you'll have to give me a rain check here and let me rack my brain.
That's all right. We're late in the podcast. Only the OGs stay this late.
No.
Fucking, we were talking about personalities. We nicked a water line. I called Austin. Austin came.
With Jimmy.
Jimmy was in the hole. He was digging. I'm blanking, guys. God damn it. It's gonna come to me, but it was so funny.
Dude, I don't know if you saw, I think it was Chase. He was driving the other day, and the chicken joke. Did you guys hear that one? Because you didn't hear that one?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, I will I'll send you.
We must not have been included in that group, Luke.
Yeah, no, he sent it just to me. He's like, yeah, don't show my bosses. So I'm like, all right. But yeah, I'll send it to you.
Fuck. Anyway, I think we're gonna have to move on because I don't remember what I was gonna say, but I remember it was really funny, and I think that's why I lost my train of thought because I was laughing about it.
Well, it'll pop in when we're like.
Yeah, it'll pop in tomorrow.
Yeah.
When I'm driving somewhere like 1:30.
In the next 2 hours before we wrap up.
Probably. I'll text you guys after the podcast and remind you.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely gonna do that Western podcast. I think it would actually be very fitting if we did a pizza party and like had some drinks and did a podcast or a webinar too. But that would actually be really interesting if we had it set up as a webinar and we had the whole crew there.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
That could work.
That would be actually really cool.
Cool. All the guys listen to the podcast. I just found this out the other day. Because Austin, again, I'll bring him back. They were all like, yeah, we listen to all your Dirtbags podcasts. We love them. And I'm like, oh, nice. Like, I love that you listen to them. But I'm like, fuck, I hope I'm not saying anything that I shouldn't be. So maybe I got to be careful. But I think that's really cool that they listen to them too.
I mean, if they said
they're still involved right now, check the oils on the machines, boys.
Yeah, check the oils, grease the machines.
Yeah.
We're done missing that.
Yeah, we'll see if they get that note.
Yep.
See if they're still in tune.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what the group chat says after you guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna spill the beans. So there was a time where we were lazy with checking our oils, right? So Cole went around to every piece of machine and he put a sticky note on all the dipsticks and basically put them back in. And on the note it said, "Call me when you see or when you find this." Basically, there's still a couple that they haven't called us on.
Yep. And now, but then now the same guys that are very consistent found in the 239 found no oil on the dipstick.
Yeah. So that's a red flag. Cat, your shit is leaking on us.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah. I'm gonna bust on Cat a little bit. We got our first Komatsu on a site because all of our hose, all of our excavators are on different properties right now, and we don't have enough of them, so we got a Komatsu, and I kind of like that thing. I hopped in it today, and I was like, "This ain't bad."
I've heard good things. Brody was talking those Komatsu's up pretty good yesterday when we were out there.
A lot of people have Komatsus, so we'll see.
Luke, what was the price point? Was Komatsu now higher than Cat? Was it, or what when you were looking?
Komatsu is $100,000 higher than Cat was on the same machine.
Yeah. Which I was telling the guys about that, and they were saying maybe we should look into that a little bit more because it shouldn't be.
I still have quotes, but yeah, we should look at it.
No, it was legit $100,000 higher.
I'm not gonna say numbers, but it was $100,000 more.
Yep.
Komatsu, get your shit figured out. But anyway, we like our cats too. Cats have been treating us right.
Yeah. Do you guys think you'll ever, unless a deal is made, probably, right? Of like niching down into just one brand of equipment? Because obviously there's some guys in the industry where they can only operate one piece of equipment because of a brand deal. Do you think that's ever on the horizon?
If it works its way, then it is what it is, but you can still have other pieces, right? I think our equipment strategy from last year to this year has changed because we had this big, broad picture of we're only buying white Ford XLT pickups. Well, now we've got Chevys, we got GMCs, we got
Ram.
I'm driving a black GMC. Cole's got a white Ford, so that kind of went out the window.
Yeah.
And as far as like going new stuff, this could be a topic too. Cole is, I'm gonna bring Austin in again, where he's like, the new stuff is cool, guys, but I'd love just a roached out 336 Cat. And I'm like, really? And he's like, oh yeah, the grosser the better is what he said. And I was like, okay, like we can look at them.
Done deal.
So. Yep. Well, and that goes back to like, I think it'd be kind of tough to go on and lock in on one piece or one brand.
Yeah.
Just because each brand does have their own niches. One brand is, their loaders, in our opinion, are better, and the other brand does are a little better. The skids are better on other brands. So it's I feel like that'd be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Although, Cole, we run strictly cat right now.
Well, except for that one case loader.
Except for the one case loader, but I mean,
but Shay likes that, so that's fine.
Yeah, Shay loves that. But you think about everything else is cat.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Luke, and like you mentioned earlier too, like sometimes it just, if you did a brand deal, you could still have other pieces, but you would just put content out of the certain piece that, or of the certain brand that you're partnered with. But I always think that's interesting, like, especially if it's not a long-term deal, like if it's like there's a time limit to it, it's like, yeah, we can renegotiate this deal after 2 years, but here are the,
the terms.
Here are the terms. And then that way you're not like signing your life away for 10 years to one brand. But I think that's very interesting because it's like, yeah, we'll absolutely showcase your stuff. We might have other things on site, but then they're taking more value in your brand and like that people trust like what you're using.
100%.
Yeah. But that goes back to like our image. We're never going to be bought out by someone or some brand. We'll tell you straight up if we like it or not.
Yeah. And some brands will just like honor that, almost like they appreciate when you give them that constructive criticism. And I always say, the best criticism or feedback you can get is like some of the negative stuff, because then you can improve on what you're doing. So I'm starting to see a little bit of a shift in that, of some of these brands, like, just tell me like what is wrong with this or why it didn't work for these projects so that we can improve it. Obviously you don't need to put me on blast, but like respectfully, you can talk about what went wrong.
Correct. But then there's also goods too. So it's the balance of, well, hey, this can be better, but thank you, whatever brand that wants to know, because I would rather work with someone that wants to know than be kind of, forced or a brand just ram it down their throat.
Yeah. No, I agree. Luke, what other questions you got? We got them all pretty much hammered out. I feel like that was a really good conversation. Obviously it was more towards like Cole and I's partnership, but like hopefully somebody can take that as like a partnership in general and apply that, to if they have partnerships or if they're looking to become a partner with somebody.
Yeah. And you guys, I'm sure you could both sense my, trying to get away a little bit from your guys' partnership, because it is kind of like that 1%, I would say, where most
it's a Cinderella story partnership.
Yeah. And I would say that with like, all three of us too, because everyone that I'm partnered with, it's like, it's going amazing. And I'm like, yeah, we have zero issues. And Luke, your and I's stuff is going great. And then
we've never had an argument either, Luke, have we?
We have not. And then, we talked about this a while ago, Luke, but Dylan Mercier, we're like, I could see us three doing business together. And it's just like, he's just that type of guy. And unfortunately, not everyone's like that. And so I'm sure you could sense like me pulling back a little bit of like, for people listening that have a shitty partner or have somebody that like is doing drugs, isn't putting in any work and wants all the rewards. Like, how do you deal with that? So I think it's almost like, because it is so situational, I think it would be better if people would just reach out after this episode if we didn't answer those questions, because then like, we're not lawyers, we are not professionals, but we can kind of help and give our 2 cents. I was talking to Jared Kepfer from Arrow Crushing. I talk to him all the time, but him and I just love talking business. And he's had lots of ups and downs too, partnerships, no partnerships, all of that. And so it's always fun to get somebody else's perspective and then me give my non-biased perspective of like, I've never met your partners. I don't know anything about them, but here's why I would wait to go back into another partnership after you just got done with that partnership 2 months ago, something like that. So I think there's a lot of value we can add, us three, to anyone listening. So reach out if you have any questions or you just want us to walk through your scenario. Sometimes it just helps to talk about it.
Yeah. A webinar.
Yeah. Could do a partnership webinar.
That'd be a tough one though. But
it's very situational based, right? Bring up
we can take each, or we can just answer individual questions.
Mm-hmm. One thing I will say, and I think it's so simple, but people don't do it, is how Cole said, take that 10,000, foot view, look at the business And there's no gray areas in our world,
Yeah.
right? It's black or white. So there's no excuses. So that's where you have to sit back, take that emotion out, and really look at your business, see what's working, see what's not working. And if it's not working, get rid of it.
Face the music. Yep.
Yeah, that it's really that simple.
Amen. Yeah, it is.
Well, boys,
that is another Dirtbags episode.
That I don't even, my timer is off, so I don't even know how deep we're into this, but
we gotta be like an hour and 20 into that one, I think. Pretty close.
That I think that's a wrap. I mean, Luke, well, and Cole, you were there too. Any thoughts on Dirtbags University? I mean, we just finished that up 2 nights ago. It was on Monday night. Any thoughts moving forward, like what we can do? But what do you guys think of the estimating one with Trevor?
I think Trevor did an awesome job.
Yeah.
Trevor did an awesome job.
Yep. And like, not like Luke and I not hiding stuff. Obviously, some stuff, is, we don't want to go and release all of our pricing or per se, but like public jobs, let's walk you through exactly how we did it and how this works. It works for us. It may not work for you, but here's a good basis point, and just helping those guys, because that was one thing that I really struggled with when I started Anderson was, where do I start? How do I even figure out pricing? Like, I don't have any data to start off. So where do I look? Who do I talk to?
Yeah, it's more so like the process of how to do it and less of like, what are your guys' exact numbers, and it's like, how did you get to that point? How did you price this out? How do you do your estimating? What softwares do you use? I know that was definitely a turning point when, you guys or Trevor started talking about different software names, and people are like, what was that one? Like, what are you guys using? Because unfortunately, it's just pretty uncommon for people to use these softwares that are out there to help them. And I think, Luke, that's something that we can even explore, of like, let's dive into more of these softwares that are actually helping these businesses or these construction companies, and then vet them, go through them ourselves, and then provide them to everyone listening, because I feel like there's just not enough resources being utilized that are out there already.
I agree.
100%. Yeah. Because our sticky notes.
Trevor pulled out the fucking sticky note with the pen on it. I was like,
you on blast.
So fucking true, because that's what we did.
I was like, yeah, no, we did that because I've never heard of Bluebeam at that point.
No.
And then once Trevor told me about it, I'm like,
you're like, this is
let's get this. And then